Hi there, this is Steve Kaufman here again, founder of Link, and of course I have a blog, The Linguist on Language. And recently we've had a lot of interest at the blog. One of the items of interest was my discussion with Benny the Irish polyglot, and I think we should probably have another round. This time we'll take the gloves off. Should be fun. And I think we shouldn't misunderstand. I really like Benny's enthusiasm. I think he gets a little too enthusiastic at times. And I do feel he's a little dismissive of other approaches. I don't dispute that he does what he claims to do. I just don't think it is his methods are as universally applicable as he claims. But anyway, we'll talk about that. We'll get on and have a discussion on it. Before I get going, what I'm going to talk about today, by the way, is this business about don't be judgmental, and how there is a whole climate of discouraging, open and fresh discussion, which seems to be coming out of our school systems and in our universities and so forth. But before I get there, people have asked me about the books behind me, so this is a small part of my library, and what you have over on this side here are books on history, largely. At the very top up there are my books, Japanese books. Over on this side here is mostly my Chinese books related to Chinese. But I wanted to fill up the books because they were kind of flopping over, so I put some teach yourself books up there that somebody noticed. Because I have bought quite a few of language learning books for different languages, just to learn what people are doing, and also to start on languages in the past, Korean, even beginning with Russian and so forth and so on. I have sections in Spanish and Portuguese and Russian and English, Canadian history, world history. I got a whole section on evolution, which is an area of interest. I can't remember what they all are. Lots of history books. So there you have it. If one day if people are interested, we can exchange information on the books we like. Don't be judgmental. I hear this all the time. Don't be judgmental. Why not be judgmental? We have to judge. We're judging all the time. Did you like the movie? Did you like dinner? Do you like that person? We are always judgmental. Why shouldn't we frankly state how we feel? And on my blog, I had various responses to this. Someone said, well, it's not don't be judgmental, it's don't be so judgmental. You shouldn't be so judgmental. Well, what does that mean? Either you make judgments, you have opinions, or you don't. You don't very much have opinions. You're allowed to have opinions. Some people have more, and I think the more opinions you have on things, the better. It means that you're observing and thinking or trying to think for yourself. Now, granted, we're always influenced in every opinion that we hold. It's because of something that someone said to us or that we read, which is fine. But I like to maintain this feeling that I'm in control of my opinions. During Nazi Germany, people were not judgmental. And so therefore, the Germans allowed these Nazi thugs to take over their country with the consequences that we know. I think even more important than democracy is freedom. You can have governments that are like Hong Kong, for example, was not a democracy, but they had freedom. They could express their opinions. And I think it's very important that we maintain this freedom to express our opinions. The greatest protection against Nazism, fascism, communism, any kind of ism that wants to control our lives and take away a lot of our basic freedoms is the freedom of expression. But now, in schools, we are taught not to present our views. And I think, again, someone on my blog said, well, don't state your opinion. Why don't you just ask the other person what they think? Well, they'll tell me what they think. And I often do ask, and we do ask as we're having a discussion, and somebody says something that I don't agree with. Well, I'll say, well, I don't agree. Why do you say that? So we do ask questions. And very often on my blog, if I lead with a question saying, what do you think of this? And then someone will volunteer an opinion, and I'll say, no, I don't agree. then I'll very often get, well, why did you ask the question if you don't, if you're going to argue with me or something? Like as if someone puts forward an opinion, I'm obliged to agree with it. I'm not obliged to agree. And I had one person on the blog post that I had on Don't Be Judgmental, and this fellow is a teacher because I clicked through his name, and he was bound and determined to come to a harmonious agreement. And he kept trying different things. And then he would say, there, are we harmonious now? Well, no, we're not, because you have one opinion, which is fine, perfectly legitimate for you to have an opinion. You're not obliged to agree with me. I'm not obliged to agree with you. The purpose of our discussion is not to arrive at an agreement. This is not a peace negotiation. We're discussing something. And hearing your views undoubtedly is good for me, gets my brain cells going. I have to try to find arguments to defend my position. I look at your arguments to see what there is of value, and you may influence me. Mostly we don't influence people in the discussion, at least not immediately, not during the heat of the discussion. But it may be that the following day we say, you know what? Yeah, we say to ourselves, maybe he had a point. So I think these free discussions are very beneficial, very fruitful. On this teacher's listserv that I've often referred to, where they kept on censoring my comments because they thought I was being too forceful at times. And I would say, I don't agree. Like I said, we should look at the other side of the coin or something. No, you can't say that. Or I think we were discussing the Japanese during the war, and I said there were some hot-headed middle-level officers who precipitated the war in China. And that was censored because if I said the Japanese officers were hot-headed, that might offend some Japanese Americans. That's what they thought, which is completely ridiculous. And at any rate, so I was arguing with this censor, and I said, why do you censor these things? And we went back and forth, and then finally she sort of gave her final argument, and then, there, do you get it now, she said? Like I'm obliged to get it. I don't have to get it. We can both go in parallel directions. You have your opinion, which you can state as often as you want, and I have mine. And I think this is extremely healthy. And basically, I was at there's a thing here at Simon Fraser University here in Vancouver called the School of Dialogue, which is the biggest windbag exercise I've ever come across. They totally discourage people from expressing their opinions. And they organized a one-day conference on what does it mean to be Canadian, which was full of things that are not relevant to most Canadians. Relevant to most Canadians is the hockey game where Canada beat the United States or beat Russia. That's significant. What they were talking about was not very significant. But the teachers group, they had invited a bunch of people, people around town to come, business people, whatever, to sit in on this discussion. And they began by lecturing us on dialoguing, that it's very important that we understand that we shouldn't be too forceful or trying to persuade people of our views. We should be dialoguing. And then 20-minute lecture on how to talk. I happened to sit at a table with him, and I told him what my views were on multiculturalism, that I'm not in favor of it. I think that's a private thing. You can be as multicultural as you want individually, but I don't think that the state should be promoting it. I think that's a bad thing to do. I mean, all I said was that, more mildly, because we had more time to talk about it. Well, he practically grabbed me by the throat. This is this dialoguing guy. The minute I said something that didn't fit in with his, whatever he's been taught at school, where everybody thinks the same, I mean, he went berserk. He called me a racist, a bigot, and all this kind of stuff. So that's dialoguing. I think teachers should make a lot of sources of information available to students, encourage them to read, encourage them to think. Don't teach them how to think. Don't teach them critical thinking. Don't teach them dialoguing. Don't teach them how to be nice in expressing their views. Let them think for themselves. Let them be judgmental. Let us all as human beings exercise our right and our ability as moral beings to judge what's happening and to state how we feel about things. And that's got nothing to do with racism or anything else. It has to do with thinking for yourself and speaking for yourself.